meringue tarts, and these ones are filled with a yuzu curd. We have the jasmine tea sponge, and then on top with our marshmallow meringue and the passion fruit and mango confit. These ones are really beautiful and fresh, absolutely delicious. Lots of different textures in those as well. Growing up in Australia, passion fruit and mango have got to be some of my favorite fruits in the world. And today with this passion fruit confit, it is a great addition to give a little tartness and sweet touch to your favorite desserts. So as always, we want to mise en place our ingredients, have everything ready before we get started. Now on my hot plate here, I have a small saucepan, and we're going to put in our fruit purees. So I have my passion fruit puree with the seeds that have been strained. Now I just use a commercial product that comes frozen. Sometimes you can get it as like a bar mix. You want to make sure that you get the one that has no added sugar or no more than 10% added sugar. So that's what I use, especially being here in Greece. It's a little bit more tricky to get fresh passion fruit, so I just use the frozen product. Now with our mango puree, I actually just purchased a mango and pureed it myself, and that's what I'm using, but you could use a frozen mango and do the same thing, or again use a commercial frozen product. So we're going to add that in as well. We have a little bit of vanilla, so either vanilla paste or vanilla bean seeds, and I'll leave all the details in your recipe. So over a medium heat, we're just going to start getting this nice and warm. Can already smell those exotic fruits. They smell so good. Now we can prepare our thickening agent. So we are using some pectin NH today. It is thermoreversible, so it's fantastic for this recipe. We're going to mix that with our sugar to prevent it clumping. Now essentially you just want to get it nice and warm, about 40 degrees Celsius. You don't need to use a thermometer. Oh, we're already there. It's already nice and warm. So we can slowly start adding our sugar and pectin whilst whisking. So just kind of sprinkle it in, and we are mixing as we go. And we want to slowly bring this up to a simmer. So we can see it's already simmering. I'm going to turn the heat right down, and we're going to simmer this for 1 full minute. Hey Google, set timer for 1 minute. Hey Google, turn off. So our coffee is ready. Let's switch that heat off. And now you want to pour into a container or a bowl. I'm just going to pop this back into my bowl. Let's cover to contact with a little cling wrap. We're going to allow that to cool down and set, and you can pop that into the refrigerator. I've just taken out my passion fruit confit, and you'll notice once you take it out that it will have set into kind of like a jelly, okay? That's totally normal. We're gonna place this into a larger bowl and whisk it until it's nice and smooth. Once that's nice and smooth, we can place it into a piping bag. There we go, and just transfer that to the fridge until you're ready to use it. Yuzu is a citrus fruit found in Japan, and in recent years and forthcoming trends, this ingredient is going to be seen on so many different types of bakery items and snacks. So let's get into making this yuzu curd. So yuzu fruit has a delicious flavor. It is very tart, very sour. It's very similar to like a grapefruit, tangerine, lemon, something like this, all meshed together. It's absolutely delicious. And it is seen as a more high-end item, or you'll see it in a lot of fine pastries, or used to accompany different types of desserts. So let's get into making it. So today I'm actually going to be mixing it with some mandarin juice, or you can use tangerine or lemon juice. Because the yuzu is very expensive, we are just utilizing half of the juice measurement in yuzu and then the other half in an alternative juice. So we still get that flavor of yuzu, but we're balancing out with some other flavors that can complement it. All right. So to get started, I have my caster sugar here. Now, in the recipe, it might seem like a lot of sugar, but because this fruit juice is very, very tart, it's important that we have this quantity of juice, this quantity of sugar, and you'll notice that when you taste it later. So to our sugar, we're going to be adding our starches, which is what is going to be replacing our eggs today. So we are using some cornstarch, and I'm also using some custard powder. Now, this is also known as pudding powder. It's the one which is heat activated. So if you have a look on the back of the pack, it'll say to like cook it with milk or something, but we are just making it completely plant-based today. So I'm just gonna mix those starches with the sugar just to get them dispersed. Now we wanna create like a slurry. So I'm gonna be adding some of this water just until we get like a nice paste. Okay, so that's fine. That's looking good. We're gonna add our remaining ingredients to our saucepan here. So in goes I'm using mandarin juice today, and of course our yuzu juice. And I had to purchase my yuzu juice online from an Asian grocery store. It is quite pricey, but we aren't using very much in this recipe. So keep that in mind. And we're also adding a little bit of coconut cream for some fat and some richness. Now we're going to get our heat on, and we just want to get it to this smoke point. Okay, so it's at 80 degrees Celsius now. I'm going to pour this into my starch and sugar mixture. Probably like half of it, just to start getting it activated, and then back into our saucepan. And over medium heat, we're going to continuously stir until it starts to thicken. And I'm using my whisk as well, just to ensure no lumps. And that starch is already activating. And we want to turn down that heat really nice and low and simmer it for about 30 seconds or until that starch is cooked through. Okay, I'm just going to take this off the heat and just give it a little test just to make sure that starch is cooked. So just in with our spoon, we're just going to taste a tiny bit. We don't want any raw starch flavor. Yep, that's good. So our starch is cooked through. I'm also going to add some lemon zest. I just personally want to make it a little bit zestier, but I'll leave that up to you if you want to add that. That can be optional. Now I'm going to transfer my curd into a heat-safe jug. And we need to let this cool down to 60 degrees Celsius before we add our vegan butter and emulsify everything together. So let's check the temperature right now. It looks like we're already at 60. So we are going to start emulsifying our cold vegan butter inside. So I have my vegan butter here. It's like a firm vegan margarine essentially. And I pulled it straight out of the fridge, so it is cold. And I've just got them in little cubes. We're gonna add a little bit at a time, and using our immersion blender, just blend until it's nicely emulsified. I'm just gonna transfer my curd to a smaller bowl. Cover to contact with some cling wrap and set that in the fridge until we're ready to use. Well, it's definitely starting to smell like a bakery in my kitchen this morning. Oh, look, I've got a visitor. Did you want some tarts too, Bandit? Meow, I think, yes. Okay, so we have our... So I made all these little tart shells a few days ago, and I've just stored them in a container. But because they might be a few days old or a week old, we're going to refresh these just so they taste lovely and fresh for the day that we are serving them. So this is pretty standard practice in a bakery. You would make a whole batch of these, maybe like once a week or once every couple of weeks, and then you just refresh them in the oven however many you need for the day. I'm actually going to do all of them. We're going to refresh all of these. And all that is doing is, yeah, just making it nice and crisp, making sure they're nice and dry and have a nice fresh flavor. So I've got my oven set to 150 degrees Celsius. I'm going to pop these in for just like 7 minutes, just to give them a nice refresh. So there we go. Just pop them on a tray. You don't need to put anything down, that's completely fine. And 5 minutes at 150 degrees Celsius convection. So while our tart shells are being refreshed in the oven right now, we are going to create the glaze that goes on the inside. So essentially we are just brushing the inside with a equal parts quantity of vegan white chocolate and some cocoa butter. So we're just going to melt those two together, and by brushing this inside the tart shell, it's going to ensure that that tart shell is going to stay lovely and crisp, and the filling is not going to make it soggy. So you can enjoy these tarts for a few days and they're still going to be lovely and fresh and crisp. So I'm just boiling some water here, creating a bit of a bain-marie. Once it's boiling, I am going to switch this off or put it on like a super low heat. And I'm just going to pop that on there. We'll melt this down. If you're really struggling to find the vegan white chocolate, you can just use cocoa butter. That's totally fine as well. Well, it's definitely starting to smell like a bakery in my kitchen this morning. I've just taken out my tart shells from being refreshed. I'm going to set them aside to cool down before we put our glaze inside. So I have my yuzu curd, and it's already been sitting in the fridge. I took it out about an hour ago just to kind of make it at room temperature so it's not too cold. And we're going to just whip this until it's nice and smooth and pop it in a piping bag. Those starches overnight would have coagulated, so it is kind of jelly-like at the moment, but we want to get it nice and smooth to be able to pipe into our tarts. That looks pretty good to me. And into a piping bag. I'm not putting a tip on it or anything. Once you whip that curd, you'll notice that the texture will change a little bit. But don't worry, as we put it into our tarts, it will set again. And our curd is ready to use. So our tart shells have cooled down. Now we can go in with our glaze, which is just our cocoa butter and vegan white chocolate. Now there's a couple of ways you can do this. You can go ahead and use a nice dry brush like so, and just dip it into your cocoa butter. And we're just going to brush around all around the inside. We want to make sure it's fully coated. Or you can use a finger, clean of course, and just go in there and wiggle that around. Sometimes using your finger is faster if you are making really small tart shells like this. Okay, so with that leftover glaze, you can pop that into a container and just use it when you need. You can leave it outside just to set up, and then you can just melt it back down either in the microwave or over a bain-marie. I'm going to leave these just for a few minutes for that cocoa butter to set before we start putting our filling in. So now we can start putting our tarts together. Our glaze has set. And I've just pulled out my jasmine tea jack-on sponge. And this was very easy to prepare. It's exactly the same as the jack-on sponge. We just ground up some of the jasmine green tea leaves and folded that through. So I'm just putting over a bit of icing sugar, just so it's a bit easier, it won't stick. Oh, there we go. Now the first thing that I want to do is put a little bit of that passion fruit confit down the bottom. So I'm just going to snip the tip of this piping bag. Let's just do one to start. So I've got one here. We just want just a little bit just to cover the base. I'm gonna cut out some of our sponge cake. I have a small little cutter here. It is just a small little piece. And that's gonna go in the center like so. And then we have our yuzu curd. And we're going to go around the edge. Make sure we get all the way in. And then fill up with our yuzu curd. Like so. Give it a bit of a tap. Get ourselves a bowl here. And we can swipe off that excess cream. And then do that for all of your tartlets. So let's make it a bit of an assembly line now. So I've just transferred them onto a smaller tray and I'm going to pop these into the fridge to firm up. And while they're firming up, we can start creating our meringue topping. Look at that meringue. Now with this particular meringue topping, it will set into a very delicate kind of marshmallow or mallow texture, which is lovely. It's not too sweet either, so it's fantastic for the beautiful, elegant desserts. So let's get started. Now you will need to go ahead and choose the type of egg white replacer that you want to use for this recipe, and I will leave all the details in the recipe for the meringue topping, what you can choose. Today I'm using some potato protein 300. Also known as potato protein cold. There's a couple of different companies who produce this product, and I will leave all the information in your unique ingredients list as well. Or you can use aquafaba and all the details will be in your recipe. So to prepare our vegan egg white, because I'm using the powdered product, I have some water here. We have our potato protein. And to that, we're going to mix with our smaller measurement of sugar. This is just to help those powders disperse. I also have a little bit of xanthan gum just to help stabilize our foam. And to activate our potato protein, you want to add a little pinch of bicarb soda. So we'll just mix those powders together. I'm going to add to our water measurement. And just blend all of that together. So once that's combined, we're going to add it to our stand mixer bowl. And we want to beat this on a medium speed until we get to kind of like the soft peak stage. So while that is whipping up, we can start creating our sugar syrup. So over here in my saucepan, I've already started allowing my agar to bloom. So I just have my second measurement of water, and I've already put our agar, which is our seaweed powder, and that's going to give us that coagulation or setting as this meringue cools down. So we're creating essentially an Italian meringue that's going to set into like a marshmallowy kind of texture. Okay, so we've already got our agar and water together. To that we're going to add some sugar. And I have some glucose syrup. Now this is going to allow us to stir our sugar syrup without it crystallizing. So it is an important ingredient. So we're going to start off with mixing this over a medium heat. And I want to get that sugar dissolved. And the reason that we need to be able to stir this syrup continuously is we don't want that agar to sink down to the bottom and start burning. So once that sugar's dissolved, I've just put my thermometer in. We want to bring this up to 120 degrees Celsius, and you can now turn that heat up a little bit as well. So on like a medium-high heat. Let's have a look at our meringue so far, or our egg white. So it's getting there. We're almost at a soft peak, so we're just going to continue on. Have a look at our foam. Oh, so we're at the soft peak stage now. So, and we're at 104. So we can keep whipping like on a low to medium speed. So we're at 112 right now. We're getting close. There we go. We are ready. Let's turn that off. Now we're slowly going to pour our syrup into our vegan egg foam. Now we're going to continually whip this until we get it down to about 40 degrees Celsius, something like this. You can turn up the speed slightly. We just don't want to do maximum speed. When you touch it, the bowl will be very, very hot. We want it to cool down a bit. Let's check the temperature of our meringue. It's at about 38 degrees Celsius, so that's fine. Something between around 33 to about 40 degrees Celsius is perfect. And I've already got the bag with the piping tip that I want to use. Look at that meringue. And I just heated up in this saucepan a little bit of water, and then I've turned it off because I'm not going to put everything in my piping bag. We want to ensure that we keep that meringue nice and warm so it doesn't set too quickly. I'm going to pop that onto that saucepan just to keep it nice and warm. So let's go ahead and pipe onto our tarts. Little melon baller or a half teaspoon, and I've just heated up, and I'm going to take a little hole out the top. Oops. Just scooping a little bit out like so, and I'm just turning the pastry as I go, just so we get a nice indentation. Okay, so we've made our little craters in all of them. We can start putting our passion fruit confit. Now the fun part, we can start firing these little guys. Perfect. And firing them after you put the confit inside really seals the confit. Now we're just going little circles. We don't want to go too close, otherwise we'll burn it. Our meringue tarts, and these ones are filled with a yuzu curd. We have all of our beautiful tarts which were completed. Now I'm just going to put them on some little cards, little pastry cards. Now it is important when you are putting them on the cards that you need something that's going to make them stick. So I always like to get a little bit of glucose syrup and just put a couple of little dots there on the card so they won't move. And it just makes it much easier for guests to pick these up. Okay, so just not look cute. And you can use either side if you want to do gold or if you want to do the black. Let's have a look what it looks like on the black. What do we think? Well, I think on the gold. All right, so I'm going to do that for all the other ones. And there we have it, guys. That is our yuzu and passion fruit meringue tarts. Don't they look absolutely beautiful? I hope you enjoyed this dessert. And I'm now going to set up my dessert table so we can take a closer look. Our meringue tarts, and these ones are filled with a yuzu curd. We have the jasmine tea sponge, and then on top with our marshmallow meringue and the passion fruit and mango confit. These ones are really beautiful and fresh, absolutely delicious. Lots of different textures in those as well.